We spend years training university students to solve complex, multidimensional problems, and then we try to measure their ability to do so by asking them to fill in a small circle with a number 2 pencil. Institutions like the European higher education area have explicitly mandated a move away from rote memorization. The new standard requires open, authentic tasks, but a standard multiple choice exam is a static tool. It is incapable of capturing the nuance of a student who must synthesize research, design an intervention, or defend an argument in real time. Consider a collaborative research project culminating in a live oral presentation. The criteria for success are incredibly varied: visual aid design, speaking clarity, analytical depth, and teamwork. A simple right or wrong test cannot evaluate these dimensions. This creates an assessment gap. We are actively teaching dynamic, highly adaptable skills, but relying on static, one-dimensional tools to grade them. If we cannot accurately measure a student's performance on these open-ended projects, the entire pedagogical push toward practical skill acquisition in universities is undermined. The proposed solution to this gap is the analytical rubric, a transparent matrix that explicitly defines assessment criteria and maps out specific performance levels for each one. Yet adoption remains sluggish. University faculty often resist rubrics, citing deep concerns over their reliability and validity. They fear the tool is too subjective to yield rigorous grading data. That skepticism peaks when we look at the most controversial application of rubrics, offloading the actual summative assessment of these complex tasks entirely to undergraduate peers. Educational psychologist Rafael Garcia-Ros at the University of Valencia decided to test this exact scenario. He asked a specific question: can peer assessment utilizing a highly structured rubric actually produce statistically valid data? Proving or disproving the reliability of peer evaluation dictates whether rubrics can be responsibly deployed at scale across higher education. To answer this, Garcia-Ros organized a study with 64 educational psychology students. Their task was to grade their peers' complex oral presentations using a carefully engineered tool. The first structural axis of this rubric consists of 14 distinct, highly specific evaluation criteria. The second axis establishes 4 graduated performance levels for each criterion, ranging from unsuitable to quite appropriate. Overlaid onto this matrix is a quantitative scoring mechanism, assigning a value from 0 to 3 points. This creates an analytical rating, allowing graders to isolate elements independently of the speaker's tone. Adding these individual rows together generates the holistic rating, a global summative score out of a possible maximum of 42 points. By breaking down a subjective presentation into 56 distinct constrained data points, the rubric forces the grader to mathematically ground their evaluation. Before looking at the final grades, the study examined qualitative survey data to see how students actually used the rubric during the planning phase of their projects. This chart illustrates the students' perceived benefits. The highest rated utility was knowing the evaluation criteria, which scored a massive 4.4 out of a possible 5 points. The second highest was evaluating the suitability of the work presented, scoring a 4.1. Contrast those high scores with what the rubric explicitly failed to do. When asked if the tool helped reduce anxiety about the work, the score dropped to a low 2.7. This low anxiety score reveals a vital pedagogical reality. Well-designed rubrics compel students to confront strict, rigorous requirements while they are still building their project. The primary power of the tool is cognitive scaffolding. It forces students to adopt self-regulated evaluation long before they step up to the podium. To see if that self-regulation translates into accurate grading, we have to directly compare the scores awarded by the students against the professor's expert baseline. The researchers utilized a statistical measure called Cohen's kappa to determine the degree of inter-rater reliability. The first test applied the conservative procedure, which demands a perfect, exact match between the peer's rating and the professor's rating on every single criterion. This graph charts the exact agreement rate across all data points. Even under these strict conditions, the grades landed at a solid 66% match. Next, they ran the alternative, adjacent agreement procedure. This allows the ratings to differ by only a single performance level. When allowing for just this one level difference, the adjacent agreement skyrockets to 98%. A 98% adjacent agreement proves that undergraduate students are highly capable of mirroring expert evaluation logic, provided they are constrained by clear parameters. Moving from granular criteria up to the macro level, the researchers then analyzed the holistic score, the final grade awarded for the presentation. This scatter plot compares the total 42-point scores generated by the student peers against the scores awarded by the teacher. Notice the tight variance. 70% of the peer scores differed from the teacher's final grade by a mere 4 points or less. This clustering results in a staggering Pearson correlation coefficient of R equals 0.89. In the field of behavioral and educational assessment, achieving an 0.89 correlation between amateur raters and an expert is exceedingly rare. This data indicates a near-perfect grading alignment. This hard data stands in direct opposition to initial faculty fears. Peer grading, often assumed to be subjective, noisy, or chaotic, proved exceptionally stable. Rubric-constrained peer assessment generates highly rigorous data, dismantling the myth that students cannot reliably evaluate complex tasks. We return to the demand established by the European higher education area. Modern universities must evaluate complex, authentic tasks. The analytical rubric acts as the precise, mechanical bridge connecting those complex, authentic assignments with highly reliable, defensible measurement. For faculty, the benefit is clear. They can confidently offload time-consuming summative assessment to peers without sacrificing the validity of the final grade data. But the deeper benefit belongs to the students. They transition from guessing a professor's internal logic to practicing the exact, transparent evaluation standards they will face in their future professions. There is a caveat. Throwing together a vague rubric without precise analytical descriptors will still result in noise and failure. The engineering of the tool matters. By explicitly defining the boundaries of success before a project even begins, we eliminate the guesswork from the learning process. Statistically validated rubrics function as primary instructional engines, driving high-level cognitive alignment throughout